Hey guys, how y'all doing? Hope y'all are doing well. I'm doing pretty good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can we talk? Yeah, I just had to take a moment. I'm starting actually kind of later today, so I'm doing a video later in the day today. Not with my morning coffee as I usually do, but don't get me wrong, I'll have a cup of coffee any time of the day. I have a cup of coffee any time of the day. Believe you me. Man, listen. So I ran across this story. Like I told y'all, man, won't be the first, won't be the last. What wasn't the first and won't be the last. That's how I put it. On the other side of the spectrum, different, opposite to what we talked about yesterday, but in my opinion, let me just give y'all the rundown first, and then we'll talk about it. Excuse me. When I do too much talking, I always have to kind of clear my throat. I just seems like I just inherently have dry throat. So if you hear me clear my throat a lot, that's probably why. So last Friday, a set of twins. These guys were, I call them babies, man. They're babies. I call them babies. They're grown, probably taller than me, probably taller than you. They in outside, like the young people say, outside they might look grown, but mentally they just babies. They just babies. I told y'all I don't consider anybody grown until maybe like 25. Then I start taking you kind of serious. Anyhow, set of twins, 19 years old, man, out of Lawrenceville, Georgia. The family says that the set of twins were supposed to take a flight out to Boston. And apparently they missed their flight. And did I tell y'all this happened last Friday? This was last Friday. If I didn't, I'm telling you now. If I didn't, I'm telling you now. So they were supposed to take a 7 a.m. flight, out to Boston. Out of Atlanta. Lawrenceville is outside of Atlanta, so I'd imagine they probably had to go to, they were supposed to go to the Atlanta airport. I don't know what they call it. I can't remember what they call it. I've never been to that airport. But anyhow, they're supposed to take a 7 a.m. flight to Boston. For whatever reason, these two young babies, I'm gonna keep saying babies because that's what they are, babies, were found 90 miles from their hometown. Hometown is Lawrenceville, Georgia. Found 90 miles from their hometown in Hiawassee, Georgia. Hiawassee is in the mountains, North Georgia. If anybody knows anything about North Georgia, most of it is mountains because you start climbing into Tennessee and those places. So it gets really mountainous. I only know that because I'm a truck driver. I only know that because I'm a truck driver. My everyday job is a truck driver. I don't know if I shared that with y'all. But the babies were found 90 miles from their hometown, north of their hometown, in Hiawassee, Georgia, in what's named the Bell Mountains. The Bell Mountains are in Hiawassee, Georgia. Let me just get to it. So say some hikers found them. I be trying to do this politically correct, and it don't be working sometimes. I just have to say what's on my mind. Some hikers found these babies in the Bell Mountains in Hiawassee, Georgia, 90 miles north of their hometown. And so far, the police are saying that they're ruling it a murder-suicide. Murder-suicide. Yeah. I don't know if it's true. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible. Is it probable? I don't know. You can argue it. It's probable, but is it possible? No, I take that back. Is it probable? No. No. Probable? No. Possible? You can argue it. I had that turnaround. I have to get my train of thought sometimes when I'm doing these videos. Y'all don't know what it feels like to sit in front of a cameraman and just have to let it out. And sometimes you get yourself caught up in trying to be politically correct, and usually when I'm talking, I'm not politically correct, but I like to be clear, and I like to present a certain way, so that sometimes gets me. Sometimes it gets me in a chokehold. Sometimes it gets me in a chokehold because I like to present a certain way. So, but anyhow, let's dig into this, guys. Murder-suicide, probable. Very small chance murder-suicide. I mean, you can argue the young fellas probably got into an argument and one hurt the other, and then he unalived himself. But how did they get from the Atlanta airport to Hiawassee, Georgia? You could even argue maybe they were kidnapped. Taken north from the Atlanta airport, taken north, and then unalived in the mountains. Who's to say it even happened in the mountains? Maybe their bodies were just left there. All of that, it's possible. It's possible. It is possible. I've seen some stuff over my lifetime, so it's possible. It is possible. Share a quick story with y'all real quick before we dig into this, and it's gonna open up some. Just open up your brain for a second. From my hometown, a couple of guys, I don't know if y'all remember this story. Back a couple years ago, I haven't seen the story in a while, and I didn't look it up, and I really didn't think I was going to tell this story, so I didn't look it up, but I know all the details still in my head. A couple years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, a couple of guys from my hometown. I'm from a really small town originally, Lake Wales, Florida. A couple guys took themselves from Lake Wales, Florida. Lake Wales, Florida is just southwest of Orlando, Florida. Everybody knows Orlando, so if you can go from Orlando and go from there, southwest of Orlando, Florida, very small town. That's where I'm from. couple of guys. They're around my age. They were around my age. So it hit different because they were around my age and I knew them. Raised in the same neighborhood for the most part. Yeah, so we kind of grew up together. A couple of guys took themselves from Lake Wales, Florida to Reno, Nevada. And never came back home. Never came back home alive. Their families could only speculate what happened. And it was a whole bunch of speculation, a whole bunch of scrutiny around what happened and why. And the two guys were brothers, just like these two young men. They were brothers. Y'all excuse me, the wind is high again. They say it's supposed to rain today, so it might. The wind has been, it feels good, but it's I don't know how it affects these videos. And I told y'all I like to be outside. Anyhow, whole bunch of scrutiny on what happened to the two brothers. Same as this. Same story, different people. Come to find out, these guys were into a lot of stuff their family didn't even know about. The family didn't know about. The police had to uncover and dig up. And the truth eventually came to the light. So that's what the police said. Just because the police says it don't make it true. So that's what the police said. But it really opens your mind up and it makes you think. I've told y'all not in the last, but some of the last videos I did, I think, and these are only my opinions. First, before I dig into this, I want to offer my sincerest condolences to the families of these two young men. Their names were Nazir and Cadir Lewis. Nazir and Cadir Lewis. Those were the names of the two babies. I want to be respectful first. Again, I'm not here to tear anybody down. So I'm here to build us up, not tear us down. But in the process, I try to use a whole bunch of my common sense. A whole bunch of my common sense. A lot of things in life are that you might learn are a whole bunch of common sense. Not too many things are too complex. It's a whole bunch of common sense. You'll learn that the longer you live, if you're young. Okay. Like I said in a few of my last videos, I think a lot of parents, to them, their children are perfect. The children are perfect. Can do no wrong. When I saw this family on the news talking about these two young men, they had all of the good things to say about these two young men. And that's not to take away from anything that they've done over their lifetimes, their very short lifetimes. Good. They probably did have a bunch of positive things and positive ways that they've impacted people's lives. But that is not, don't confuse that with knowing someone. Never confuse that with knowing someone. Knowing someone and just knowing a few things about them does not make you know them. You only know what they're showing you. You only know what they're showing you. You only know. I used to use this word quite a bit, and strangely, I hear it so much now, and I feel like I was the first one to use the word. You only know somebody's representative. What they choose to show you. You only know somebody's representative. Okay, so in that, I don't think that these two young men were, and these are only my opinions again, I don't think these two young men were kidnapped. I don't think they were somehow taken to Hiawassee, Georgia, and unalived in the Bell Mountains. I think these two young men were into something that even their family didn't know about, because their families only knew their representatives. They only knew their representatives. I think, my opinion, and if I'm wrong, God forgive me. Only my opinion, because again, just a lot of my common sense. You will find a lot of times when things like this happen, it comes down to the simplest of things. In the end, it comes down to the simplest of things. It's not even complex. It's A, B, and C. 1, 2, and 3. When they get down to the bottom of a lot of cases like this, it is usually just A, B, and C. Very simple. It's nothing complex. It's nothing that is even outside of your imagination. I think a lot of us, we live in imagination land. We want to live and reside permanently in imagination land. And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. We want to live in imagination. We want to live and reside permanently in imagination land. I think these two young men were into something that their families didn't know about. And I would take a shot in the dark, man, and say they probably never were to go to Boston, or never were to take a flight. They told their family that, and they got in their car or their Uber or however they got there, however they got to where they were going, and went up to Hiawassee, Georgia, for whatever reason. We don't know that yet. We probably never will know that. Went up to Hiawassee, Georgia. They told, how many of y'all ever told your parents, I'm going to, ask your parents, just say for instance, 16, 17 years old, you ask your parents, Mama, can I hold your car? And Mama say, she probably say yeah, but she gonna ask you, where you going? Where you going? Oh, I'm going to go to Walmart. And she said, oh yeah, sure, yeah, you take it. Just don't be gone long in my car, because I need my car. And you never had any intentions on going to Walmart from the beginning. You just told your mama what it took to get her car, or to, well, one, to get her car, and two, to get out of the house. I mean, you can get out of the house and go anywhere you want to if you really, really wanted to, but probably the reason is to get the car. So you got to tell her something that she gonna believe to get the car. I think that's the same thing that these two young men did with their parents. Listening to their parents, they don't know anything about anything. Hearing their parents, they don't know anything about they don't know anything besides Lawrenceville, Georgia. Anything else outside of Lawrenceville, Georgia, they don't know nothing about it. They don't know nothing about North Georgia. They don't know nothing about South Georgia. They don't know nothing about nothing out in outside in the streets. They don't know anything about nothing, and and that's so hard for me to believe. It's not a laughing matter. I laugh because I laugh because us as a community, we are so naive to the capabilities of our children. We're so naive. We will reside permanently in fantasy land for our children. To the ends of the earth, we will reside permanently, make it our permanent living space in fantasy land about our kids. You ain't gonna tell me first. First, if anybody knows anything about Atlanta, I said I was going to do a video on Atlanta one day, and I am. If you know anything about Atlanta, Atlanta is actually a really small city. Atlanta's a small city, but you have a whole bunch of other small cities that surround Atlanta. And mostly, most of people live outside of Atlanta in all of these small cities outside of Atlanta. I need to get into the into the frame. Most of everybody lives outside of Atlanta, but if you ask them where they live or where they're from, even though they live in, just say this is Atlanta. This is Atlanta. If you ask these two young men, they were from Lawrenceville. Lawrenceville kind of northwest of Atlanta somewhat. But if you ask these two young men where they live, they're gonna say Atlanta. They ain't gonna say Lawrenceville because nobody know Lawrenceville. And everybody from Atlanta, they want to be from Atlanta because everybody knows Atlanta. You can ask anybody, they know where Atlanta is. Say Lawrenceville, Georgia, probably where's that at? Where's that at? But I bring that up because the culture in Atlanta, it's sick. It's sick. It is sick. And I am gonna do a video on Atlanta one of these days. But it's sick. It's a sick culture. Why? There's this twisted notion that everybody is expected to be somebody in Atlanta. Twisted notion. Why? I don't know. Everybody wants to be somebody, and they'll do anything they can. They'll do anything to be considered somebody. They'll do anything for a come up. I know you can relate to those terms. They'll do anything for a come up. They'll do anything for $1. And most times, people's value is connected to how much money they have first. Why? I don't know. That's a sick culture all the way around the world, but especially in Atlanta. I mean, you've been to some big cities and it just seems like there's money in the city. You're driving on the highway and it's a bunch of nice cars you ain't even seen before. Homes you've never seen before. You can only imagine living in one of them. You can't even imagine probably what some of those people are doing to be able to drive them cars and live in those houses. Some, not all, some just successful, but they did it the right way. They did it the right way. They earned it. Most They only imagine about these lifestyles and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get it. Anything. So these two young men, knowing that they're from Atlanta, but they're not. They're from Lawrenceville, Georgia. But if you ask them, I guarantee you, I can bet my last dollar on it. They're gonna say, "We're from it." If they were here today and you asked them where they were from, they would say Atlanta. I know the culture in Atlanta. I know the culture in Atlanta, and it's not good. It's not good, man. It is sad. It is so sad. I've never had a craving or had a fixing in my mouth, like a taste for. I've never had a taste to want to live in a big city. I've never had it. I've never had it. And I think I've never had it because I've seen how the majority live in big cities. The majority, some of these well-off people, wealthy people, they're the minority. Everybody's not wealthy. You can look like you're wealthy, but everybody's not wealthy. The wealthy are a minority, small amount of people in all of these cities, Lawrenceville, Atlanta, all the surrounding cities around Atlanta. The majority are just working class people, go to work every day, trying to have something. Some doing it the right way, some aren't. Some going to work every day, some going on the corner every day. But the culture in Atlanta is so fixated on wanting to be somebody and wanting to have what they see some of these wealthy people have, and they'll do anything to get it. So in that, I think these two young men told their families that they were going to Boston. They were going to catch a flight to Boston and probably book the tickets and everything, just to deceive their family members. We going to Boston, and they got in their car and they drove up to Hiawassee, Georgia, for whatever reason. We don't know that yet. We probably will never know. They drove up to Hiawassee, Georgia, and something went terribly wrong. That's what happened. Something went terribly wrong. You have to know. you absolutely have to know. Y'all excuse me, but my neighbors now it's the neighbors on the side of me. Yesterday it was the neighbors behind me. Now it's the neighbors beside me. But you have to know that whatever choices you make in your life, like, you're also going to have to reap the consequences behind your choices. Absolutely, you can't escape them. Rather, they're good choices or bad choices, and I would hope to reap the good consequences behind what I do. I don't want to do anything that's going to catch up to me later on. Listen, man, everything that I have, nobody has ever given me anything. Nobody has ever given me anything. And I was okay with that because I was willing to work for it. Everything that I have, I've worked for it. I have worked for it. I've been working since I was 15 years old enough to start working. I've been working since I was 15 years old. And I don't mind working because I like certain things. and I don't mind going to work for it. But it's a brewing. It's a brewing in our culture, in our society. It's a brewing underneath the surface that is creating young people to feel like they don't have to work. They can just go do something else and get it. And you can. They can. They do. Some of them they do. But they forget about what can happen. They forget about what can happen, man. And just know, like, when you're in certain environments, anything can happen. And usually nothing good. Anything can jump off. And just because you're there, like, anything can jump off. Anything can happen. Just because you've placed yourself in that environment. You placed yourself there. Nobody drug you there. Nobody held a gun to your head to make you come there. You placed yourself there, and you up for grabs just because you're there. Yeah. Oh yeah. Murder suicide. I don't think it was no murder suicide, man. I don't think it was no murder suicide. I think these young men were into something that their families didn't know about, and this happened. And it's sad. It's sad that I'm gonna say it again, like I said yesterday, it's sad that they have to lose their life or be put in a really life-threatening situation to have to learn. They have to end up in the courtroom or in the back of a police car to learn, because we sat on our hands. I listened to this family talk about these two young men. And I guess, I wouldn't expect you to talk bad about your family on the news, but they sounded so naive. It sounded so naive because at a certain point, we just trust our kids. We just let them go. Just let them go, and we just trust them. Not knowing what they're into, not knowing who they're hanging around, not knowing where they are. All of that. I know I've given y'all so many stories on my upbringing. Well, not so many stories, but a couple stories. I don't like to share too much about myself because I don't want people to come here just for that. I want people to come here for the content and for the knowledge and the want to do better in their own lives. That's why I want people to come here. But man, when we were coming up, my mom and dad, they knew where we were at all times. And if we just felt like we were going to deceive them this day, one thing that parents used to do that they don't do no more is check behind you. If we just felt like we were going to deceive them and they came looking for us at that place that we said we were going to be and we weren't there, oh man, you know what's coming. You already know what's coming. Like I told y'all, man, they didn't mind chastising us. They did not mind whipping us. I'm just gonna say whipping because that's what it was. They did not mind getting us in line. And a whole lot of that is what's missing today. These kids are not being held accountable for their choices and their actions. There are no repercussions until the court applies repercussions. In their real life outside, at home, no repercussions. They only get repercussions when they show up in a courtroom or they're shipped back to you in a box. Those are the repercussions. That culture has to stop, man. That culture has to stop. That crap is dead, man. It's dead. That mindset, that mentality, we have to dead that. We really have to dead that mentality. Our kids shouldn't be learning on a whim, a wing and a prayer, and us just sitting at home on our hands, hoping and praying. They hoping and pray they're gonna do right. Really? Yeah, man. We have to dead that mindset and start back raising our children. Those are the only two ways they're gonna come back to you. They're gonna come back to you by a phone call from jail, or they're gonna come back to you in a box from Reno, Nevada, or Bell Mountain, Hiawassee, Georgia. That's where they're gonna come back to you from far off from home, and you wonder what in the world they doing way up here. Why are they here? My kids don't know nothing about up here. You don't know what your kids know. You don't know what your kids know. These kids know more than they put on for y'all, and they know how to put on for y'all because y'all have all the grace in the world for them. Have all the grace, all the excuses in the world for them. They know way more than they put on for y'all, and they know how to shuck and jive for y'all to get what they need to get from y'all. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Listen, man, I ain't gonna hold y'all. Please like, share, and subscribe. I know I've been asking every video, but I'm gonna continue asking, and I'm gonna continue thanking y'all, and I'm gonna continue telling y'all I love y'all because it's true. Because it's true. Thank y'all for watching, and I love y'all. Please like, share, and subscribe. And please watch the videos. Some of them might start off slow, but the lesson is in there. I promise you, the lesson is in there. Just go along with it for a couple minutes. Most of y'all, I'm sure y'all have more spare time than y'all need to have. So just go along with it, man. I promise you, you'll get the lesson out of the video. I promise you. I'm gonna let y'all go, man. Again, I love y'all, and thank y'all for watching. And I'll see y'all on the next one. All right, peace.